Good afternoon. This webinar offers closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen and choose your preferred method. Welcome to the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection webinar. Please note any website or email that I mentioned will be posted in the chat. For those seeking business license assistance, you can visit the Small Business Center here at City Hall or call 312-74-GO-BIZ. Also, business license can be applied for or renewed online at chicagobusinessdirect.org. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. Also, this webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. We encourage attendees to ask questions. For this webinar, this will be an interactive webinar. Please raise your hand and you will be selected to ask your question. Please note that the views, information, and opinions expressed during this webinar are solely those of the presenter and does not necessarily represent the official policy or position or Department of Business Affairs, Consumer Protection, or the City of Chicago. Today's webinar is entitled, Want to Start a Business and Don't Know Where to Start, Strategies and Tips for Getting Your Business Off the Ground, presented by the Uptown United, Uptown Chamber of Commerce. At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to Sarah Wilson for us to begin.
Hello, everyone. Glad to see you all here today and excited that so many of you are interested in understanding how to get your business off the ground, or if you're just starting to think about a business, things that you need to take into consideration as you move your dreams forward. Just a little bit of background. Check my screen. I am the executive director of Uptown United and the Uptown Chamber of Commerce. We are located on the north side of the city, approximately serving Irving Park up to Foster, over from the lakefront over to Ravenswood, and all the neighbors in between. Uptown United really focuses on our physical infrastructure within Uptown on smart planning in order to help build a stronger, unified business environment and facilitate economic development and strengthen our community. And next year, we are pleased that our Uptown Chamber of Commerce will celebrate its 100th anniversary, which is a testament to the longevity of our neighbors supporting our businesses, but also the staff that we have on hand. Uptown United also is the home of the Uptown Business Center, one of 8 Chicago business centers here in the city of Chicago, and we are also the sole service provider for SSA 34. So our organization covers every breath that you can imagine that touches the business owner could potentially experience, from the physical space from which they're working in to potential financial grant opportunities and business planning opportunities. So you're all here today to understand how to get your business off the ground. So we are going to cover how to get feedback on your idea, then to write it down, then how to get established. That is so, so important. Also equally important is building your team. One thing that we always tell businesses that come in for consultations is don't sign anything yet. And equally important is please be patient. It could be hard, but please be patient. So let's get started. You have an idea. You've been thinking about it either through the pandemic, it's something that you've been tinkering around with, and you think that this could be a really stellar business opportunity. First thing to do, start bouncing your idea, your concept off of family, friends, peers. They're your potential audience. So you want to get honest, hard feedback from them on the potential viability of your good, your service, or your concept. My background is in market research. And as I would do market research, I would say that there's no better research than going out into the field and understanding the environment with which you're working in. That is true when it comes to establishing a business. You may have an idea. You may think it may be the first time someone's coming up with this idea, or you have a variation of an existing idea. Go check out your competitors. Stop in if they have a physical location, scope out the layout of their store, how they display things, how their branding looks, what their service offerings are, their price points. Really do your research. You want to understand what potentially separates you, makes you different from your competitors, and how you're creating value. You want to figure out how you're adding another layer onto what may be existing or how you're filling a void. So do your research. Another way to figure out and get feedback is by contacting one of the 8 Chicago business centers, a small business development center, or your neighborhood chamber of commerce. We are all here to be of service to you. Come talk to us. Tell us what your idea is. Chances are we might know someone who is working in a similar space than you, or we might have heard, oh, that might be an area where there's a need to fill. Let's help you get to that point. It's really important before you start going down the path to really try to flesh out your ideas to get a sense of the potential viability. There is a neurophysiological connection between memory and recognition and writing things down. Write down your business plan. It could be as simple as taking a piece of paper and writing down your proof of concept. So what is it that you want to do? Where do you want to do it? Who's your customer base going to be? What's your timeline? What are your needs? These are all really important questions that just the simple act of taking pen to paper can help you flush out your ideas and create a more viable business plan. There are lots of free resources available to you. The word business plan sounds very scary, but if you were to go to organizations such as SCORE, or even go to BACP's website under the business planning resources, which you can see over here on the left, they provide you and direct you to organizations that have free business templates. I don't know about you, I love free. I also love free from reputable organizations that know what they're talking about. So this over here on the right side of the screen is a sample of their business plan template for a startup business. It will help you go step by step in fleshing out all the key components as it relates to your business. It is imperative that you put it to paper, put your idea down, and keep updating it. Your business is going to constantly evolve, and so make sure you're constantly updating your business plan as you flesh out the details. It is also important for you to write down your financial plan and your budget. You need to understand what your potential revenue streams are going to be, what your potential expenses are going to be, how to do your projections over a multi-year period, what are your initial startup costs, etc. Organizations such as SCORE can help you through that, along with others such as Allies for Community Business and many others that I will share throughout this presentation. Write it all down. It's also important that you get established. This is to protect you. You need to, first and foremost, decide what your business legal entity is going to be. Are you going to be a sole proprietorship? Are you going to be an LLC or an S Corp? I am not an attorney. I cannot, or a tax individual professional, so I cannot give you the advice on which entity is best for your needs, but to protect you financially. As a business, it is helpful for you to find someone, either a tax professional or a small business attorney, who can help explain the differences and to help you determine which is the best entity for you. Once you figure that out, get it registered. Not only with Cook County, but get it registered with the state. As every individual has a social security number, businesses also have a social security number. It's also known as an employee identification number, an EIN. It's a federal tax identification number that essentially helps the IRS understand which tax bracket you're in, how much taxes you need to be paying, etc. Really important that you get that set up once you have your business up and running. Equally important, state taxes. Get yourself registered with the Illinois Department of Revenue for an account ID number. Fairly simple process. You could just go on tax.illinois.gov businesses, or even stop in person at their office at 100 West Randolph Street. Folks are there to help you fill out the paperwork and submit it and get it moved through the process so that you are set up within the systems. Equally important is applying for Chicago business license. And in the next couple slides, will show you how you do this. It is so important that you get an appropriate business license to operate in the city of Chicago. So why do you need a license in the city of Chicago? A Chicago business license is required to conduct, engage in, and maintain or operate any business in the city. However, there are some exceptions to this. There are a variety of industries that do not require a city license because they have a different license through the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulations. It's really important that you check with the state to determine if your potential profession falls within those. Sometimes healthcare professionals have different licenses that may not require a city license, etc. Easy to call the number listed on this page to get advice on which direction and of the license that you need to follow. It's really important that you get a business license. So how do you do that? As mentioned at the top, you could apply at online at Chicago Business Direct. You could also go in person. BACP has a small business center in City Hall, room 800. You can make an appointment or you can just stop in, although an appointment is recommended. It is really important to keep in mind that business license processing takes time. We're in a society in which we want things to move very quickly. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. There's only so many people within the department that can handle the influx of review that goes with every single application process. So as you're building out your business plan, as you're building out your timeline, you need to factor in that getting a business license could take approximately 3 to 5 weeks, but that's depending on the industry and it could potentially take longer. Most entrepreneurs don't realize how integral a business license is to operating in the city, particularly if you're looking to get into a storefront. Some leases will require you to have license approval. It is our advice to get a small business attorney to review any potential lease, which I'll get into later, to ensure that you can continue moving forward or make your lease contingent upon having lease approval. It's also important to take into consideration cost variance when it comes to your business license. This directly ties into your budget and your financial plan on some of those either initial startup costs or your ongoing reoccurring costs, as business licenses need to be renewed every 2 years or so. And they can range from $225 to $275. It's important to keep in mind that payment's not due immediately. It is due upon approval. So as you're building out your timeline and your budget, keep in mind that you have a little bit of a cushion, but that could also delay your plans too. So it's better that you plan for a longer time frame and a little bit extra cost to ensure that you are fully covered. But the long and short of it is essential if you're doing business operations in the city of Chicago that you have a license either through the city, or if you are a state regulated business, you go through the state. This is just a quick look at what the portal looks like when you go to Chicago Business Direct. Pretty clear cut. There are different areas of service that they can provide to you. You're going to want to be focusing on the right-hand side under licensed services. When you go to licensed services, you're going to need to create an account, and you go through that process by going right here where it says new business location new business location application. This is for all new and or first-time business owners. You'll essentially create an account. You'll be able to monitor your application, where it is in the queue, any type of issues that come up. If you bring on a business partner, if there's a change of location, you can make all the necessary changes here within the Chicago Business Direct business application portal. As I mentioned earlier, business licenses are renewed on a biennial basis, so every 2 years. It's on this particular portal where you could renew your business online. The city is really trying to streamline things and make it as easy and accessible for businesses and entrepreneurs who can't get downtown, who do not have the time and are trying to squeeze in all of the paperwork, either when their kids in bed, after work, early morning, and just cannot make normal business hours at City Hall. You can do this online. This is one of those platforms that could be easy to use, but if you're not as familiar with the lingo, we highly recommend that you reach out to your neighborhood chamber of commerce, an SBDC, or a small business development center, or any of the Chicago business centers to help you go through the process. You are not alone. It can feel intimidating, but you're not alone in this process. Once you go through the application process, it's sitting in processing review for about 3 to 5 weeks, and the city signs off. This is an example of what your license certificate is going to look like. You're going to need to have this displayed within your location, wherever you're in operation. But this is just sharing for context so that you're aware of what would be coming. One thing I preach a lot, not only to my staff who are involved with business entrepreneurs like yourselves, but just in general, is build your team. You cannot do your job if you do not have a stellar supporting staff around you. I could not run our organizations without having incredible staff along with board and expert advice around me to help moving things forward. It is imperative that you understand as a small business owner that there are things that are going to come up that you just do not understand or do not know or were not aware of, but there are people out there who do. Build your team. One of the first individuals or entities that we strongly suggest every entrepreneur or small business owner who comes in for a consultation with us do is get a small business attorney. There are going to be times when you are going to have to negotiate a contract, either for a service contract agreement with a potential client, it is a potential lease, anything contractual in which you are going to be obligated to either perform something or you're going to be on the hook for something. It's imperative that you have a legal expert review those documents on your behalf to ensure that you are protected and that you are negotiating terms that are favorable and protective to you. Your chambers of commerce are excellent resources for small business attorneys. They will know who you can reach out to if you're in need of very specific legal advice, if you're in need of bilingual or multilingual legal advice for providers. Highly recommend you reach out to your chambers of commerce or Chicago business centers for referrals. Equally important is having a certified public accountant and a bookkeeper. Man, expenses can come fast and furiously. And if you do not have a system set up in place to monitor all of your expenses, all of your income, all of the taxes that have to be paid, do you have employees? You need to make sure that they're all set up with proper federal and state tax withholdings. Are you doing healthcare? You need to make sure that payouts are being done on a regular basis. It is so incredibly helpful and worth the small funds to have a bookkeeper who can make sure that at the end of each month, your balance sheet is balancing out, that outstanding receivables or invoices are sent to clients or getting paid out in a timely manner, that you have someone there to help you in tax season. Crazy enough that we're into July, but tax season for small businesses is going to be right around the corner. Strongly recommend that you get yourself a certified public accountant or bookkeeper to help you with that process and to help inform you of areas of either tax credits or areas where you may not know that you could take advantage of. Best to have someone who knows that stuff in your corner. We also recommend that you work with your local neighborhood banks or a strong financial institution. They're the individuals that are going to know what kind of rates are out there. And if you're looking for lines of credit, if you need to establish an account, really work with a trusted bank. Again, your chambers of commerce can also be great referrals on this front. As an entrepreneur, you're going to need insurance. You're going to need professional liability insurance, and depending on what it is, you may need a whole host of other things. Reach out to your chambers of commerce for insurance brokers. Highly recommend having one. Also have in your team small business planning resources, SCORE, Women's Business Development Center, the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, Allies for Community Business Partners. I can keep naming all of the organizations that exist across the city that provide free small business planning. Utilize these resources. There are oftentimes experts who want to give up their time and help entrepreneurs like you answer the tough questions, work through the challenges, and go to the next level because they have been there. Utilize these resources that are available. And I've said it, and I've said it again, utilize and tap into your local resources. Chambers of commerce and neighborhood economic development organizations such as Uptown United really have their finger on the pulse on who their members are, the service offerings that they have. They also understand and are hearing about grant opportunities that are coming down the pike or that are available. They can assist you in the completion of that process. Also utilize your aldermanic offices. Really talk to them. They may know something that chambers of commerce may not know. Introduce yourself. Let them know what you're planning on bringing to the community. Also tap into your block clubs. Those could potentially be your audience, your network, your market area. Introduce yourself so that you make yourself known. It's free marketing, but you never know. You could potentially get some sort of small business planning assistance out of those basic introductions. So build your team. I alluded to this before. Don't sign anything yet. As one of the 8 small business centers here in the city, my colleague Heather Sanger threatens to have the words "don't sign a lease" across her forehead because we continually run into scenarios and in consultations with excited entrepreneurs who have said, I have this business idea and I've signed a lease for this particular location. Big red flag. Take a deep breath. You may think that your next step in your business planning phase is to move into a storefront, either out of your home or out of a shared workspace or a shared kitchen. There's a lot of steps that you need to take first before you sign a lease. First is understanding, is your potential location where you want to go zoned for your use? Are you permitted to work in that particular location? These are all questions that could throw up a red flag or a roadblock. If you don't do your due diligence, but you've signed a lease already, then you're stuck. We always strongly recommend that you build your team by having a small business attorney, lawyer, and or a commercial broker, a real estate agent that focuses on commercial spaces. All those storefronts that you see along commercial corridors, have them on your team. Ask them to review any sort of contractual document before you sign it. These are individuals that are well versed in the legal lingo that you're going to get when you see a very lengthy lease document that talks about lease terms, it'll talk about utilities, it'll talk about indemnification, words that are just so large that attorneys and commercial brokers can break it down into a language that we understand. This is to your benefit and it is for your protection. You want these individuals on your team so that they can negotiate terms that are favorable for you. For example, lease rates, lease terms. Maybe they can negotiate a lower lease rate, or they can negotiate a lease in which utilities are fully included or reduced rent. There's a lot of ways that a commercial broker can negotiate on your behalf. And then on the back end, a small business attorney can review all your leases, all your contract agreements to ensure that you are protected as a service and business provider with whomever you're contracting. So don't sign anything yet. Make sure you have a small business attorney or commercial broker work on your behalf. Chambers of Commerce are in touch with these types of service sectors, please come to us. We could provide you with solid referrals, and are more than happy to have that conversation sooner rather than later. So please just don't sign anything yet. This might be one of the hardest to do out of all the steps that we've talked about so far, is just be patient. We often have consultations where business owners or entrepreneurs have an idea of getting their business off the ground in a storefront in 3 to 6 months. The reality is that there are short staffing issues in every single department across the city, potentially the state. Things are backlogged. So things are taking longer to review. So while you may feel like you're personally ready to move things at a very quick pace, you have to build in longer time frames and to account for the longer than usual application and approval processes. That's really hard to do, but know that you are not alone. Every organization that has a business license that needs to get some sort of permit has these same challenges, and it's hard. It really is. As an organization, trying to get various special event use permits, building permits, our business licenses, things are just taking longer. So as you're writing your business plan and you're writing out all of your next steps and what your goal is for when you want to be officially up and running, add several weeks onto that. Potentially add another couple months onto that. Things are not moving as fast as people would like it to. I can't say definitively. No one knows when things are going to speed back up. So please build an extra time into your timeline so that you are not wasting money on having spent all this money up front to have architectural renderings or things moving forward or events planned because you expect to be in a location at a certain amount of time, and then you don't get your business license right away, so you can't have an opening, or you don't get your building permit in time. And so now your construction plans for building out your space are set back by several months. Please just be patient. You will get there. It just takes time. One of the key things that we tell folks who come in for consultations are submit complete information to prevent review delays. It is not uncommon to potentially miss something on an application because they can be lengthy. We get it. It's hard. You have to fill out the form. Stop on into any of your Chicago business centers, chambers of commerce, SBDCs. We can help you go through line by line all of the application questions and ensure that they're completed fully. By ensuring that you submit a complete application, you've reduced the likelihood of the review delays. By missing information, you are already waiting the 3 to 5 weeks to have your application reviewed, only to find out that your application may have been incomplete, or that there was an error, or that you mistyped something, or you're missing a key component of a phone number, or whatever the part may be. Now you have to start again. You have to provide the updated, corrected information and then wait for that to be reviewed. So now you've just added several more weeks potentially onto your timeline. It's better that you stop, take a breath, take your time when you fill out all of the applications to ensure that it is complete. This will help you in the long run. It doesn't shorten the timeline review process, but it does ensure that it goes as smoothly as it possibly can. The one thing we do tell business owners is take a deep breath. It can be really frustrating to go through the process, feel like you're not getting a response, feel like you're getting a very short response, that people aren't paying attention to you. You feel like things are just not moving as fast as you want them to. We know it's hard. We're as frustrated as you are. So just stop, take a breath, allow your team to be there to support you throughout every step of the way, and just take it one step at a time. It's easy as a small business entrepreneur to get really wrapped up in the big picture of what it is that you want to do. But then when you start getting into the nitty-gritty details of how to execute your business idea, it can feel really overwhelming. And so some individuals just like to plow through things, but then that's when errors and mistakes are made. Take your time, utilize your team that is around you, utilize the free resources that exist that are here to help you be successful. It will be hard. Starting something new is never easy. You have to give yourself grace. You have to give yourself and be empathetic towards yourself. You are not alone. You're not reinventing the wheel. There are other people that have done this. And so rely on them. Use them to your advantage, but just make sure you take deep breaths along the way. Several of the pieces that I have talked through are referenced here. We talk about the business license application. Can be found at Chicago Business Direct. There's also a whole overview on the various different types of City of Chicago business licenses that are available on the BACP website. You can follow along with your permits and your applications along on the application portal. You can also reach out to us directly here at the Uptown Business Center with my colleague, Heather Sanger. Schedule a free appointment consultation with her by clicking on the link or going to her Calendly app. I can't emphasize enough how there are resources across the city that are here for you. Certain business centers are more centered on various topics like housing or business planning or financial assistance. For example, the Calumet area industrial corridor has a big industrial community, but they also have the small businesses. The Allies for Community Business Partners are really great at helping with business planning, with coaching, with one-on-one coaching, but they also are a facilitator of various grants that come down the pipeline. All of us Chicago business centers have different areas of expertise, but we're a collective network. If you find that you live, for example, up in my neck of the woods here in Uptown, and you reach out to us and we don't have the specific answer for you, we have a network of resources across the Chicago business centers, along with our colleagues at BACP and other small business development centers who can help get the question answered for you. I believe this deck will be shared out. If not, I encourage you to take a quick screenshot of all this information. Otherwise, it's also available on BACP's website. Peruse each of our organizations. You will find a variety of free resources that we all offer. Where many of us are multilingual. So if English is not your first language, it could be very overwhelming for a non-native English speaking business owner and entrepreneur to navigate all of these legal lingos, license categorizations, all the financial descriptions that go into running a business. There are resources out there in your language. We are here to help you. Utilize us and all the free resources that we have to offer. And this is just our contact information here at Uptown. It's a lot of information, and I want to assure you that it can feel overwhelming to be a small business entrepreneur, but we are here to help you. We're here to answer your questions as best we possibly can. I'm already seeing stuff pop up in the chat and in the Q&A. I hope that you found this presentation to be useful and that you were able to get some tips out of it. I think the key takeaway from this is be patient. There are free resources for you to utilize and build a team. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of having strong partners in your corner, and know that it is not all on you in order for you to take your business and your idea off the ground. There are people across the city, heck, even across the nation and the world that can provide free resources and feedback to you to help you make your business a reality. So with that, I want to make sure we have ample time to answer any questions that have come up or in the chat. So I will turn it over to, let me go through the chat quickly and answer questions, and then we'll go to those individuals who may have their hands raised. So, question, how do you keep family from stealing your ideas? That's a great question. I don't have a solid answer on this one. I would say document everything, have an attorney review your things and ensure the legality of everything. I would say document everything. I'm a big believer of writing things down, having paper copies, photocopies, hard copies, digital copies, have copies of everything to show the proof of your ownership. If anything, talk to a small business attorney. Question, and we'll be able to attend the whole session. Will we be receiving the recording? I don't know that this is going to be emailed out. BACP, I think, said at the top that this will be available on their YouTube page, so you could follow them there. Here's a great question. What are the requirements for a home business? Are the business entities applicable to a home business? This is an area that we've been receiving a lot of questions about, and there's a lot of gray area on what can be done as a home business. I'm not going to speak directly for BACP and how they're handling these. If anything, depending on what it is your business is, I would strongly suggest that you speak to a consultant at the BACP Small Business Center or reach out to any one of the 8 Chicago business centers to help work through the details of what your specific home business is and the licensing requirements that are necessary for your particular home business. The next question, do these rules apply if you have an online business? I guess, yeah, this question's from Angela Hurd. Angela, I think it would depend on what your online business is. If it's an online store, there's another set of things that you'd have to go through if you're an online store selling goods. Yes, you need to have like your EIN, you need to have your state identification. Having a retail business in which you're selling goods and services leads to retail sales tax. And I believe that's also applicable to online businesses that are selling goods. Sales tax applies there. Really just kind of talk to a small business center for more specifics on what exactly your online business is. Just continuing to scroll through the chat. Question from Yvonne, how does the process differ for a service business or consulting a business? Along with registration, is insurance a requirement? Yes, so service businesses and professional service businesses such as consultants, they do have license requirements, but they may have different insurance requirements, professional liability, things of that nature. Process for establishing a service business is pretty similar. If you are, for example, in the personal care service industry, you may be regulated by state licensing. So I would direct you to the state's website. For example, cosmetologists, etc., have to have like a state license. So go through the state process. All of this is clearly spelled out in this particular deck, along with on BACP's website and the state's website as well. It really depends on what your service is. Professional consulting services, I think, are a little different, but all business, I believe all businesses need to have some level of protection. I strongly encourage everyone to have professional liability insurance. You want to make sure that the services that you're providing are protected and protecting you as an individual. So talk to a business consultant. They can help you go through the specific licensing process for your particular service business. Oh, Angela, I see that you have added it further in the comments, like an Etsy marketplace. I'm less familiar with Etsy and online platforms, but I believe if you're collecting like sales tax and things of that nature, you're going to need to have at least a state type of identification for tax reporting services. Again, speak to any one of us, depending on where you live in the city, to help work through the particular licensing requirements as it relates to online businesses. Another question has come up in the chat about a business loan for my Etsy shop. Not entirely sure what you're specifically looking for, if it's a line of credit or if it is a 504 type of loan. Connor, I guess I would ask you to elaborate a little bit further. This is one of those situations where I recommend you rely on your financial institution team partner. So speaking to a local bank, a business planning or financial planning partner can help you go through what type of resources are available for your particular need in this situation, a Etsy shop. Another question has come up. Explain a 1099. How does this relate to paying state business taxes? So I personally used to be a 1099 employee. And previously in my consulting world, I was not considered part-time. I was contract work. So I would receive a 1099 from my clients, and they did not pay like the state taxes. It was my responsibility as the contractor to pay the state taxes. And so you could do that on a quarterly basis through the state's website, or you could pay year in the end. This is a situation if you're a 1099 or you're issuing 1099s as part of your business. So for example, if your business, you prefer not to have full-time employees, but to rather contract out with individuals, this is a situation where I strongly suggest that you get yourself a CPA and or a bookkeeper to ensure that all documentation is sent out on a timely basis. 1099 forms have to be sent out at a particular time in the first quarter to ensure that employees or contractors have the ability to pay the taxes in a timely manner. Get a CPA, get a bookkeeper to make sure that 1099s are handled appropriately. Another question has come in: where to look for grant funding? Well, this is a very frequently asked question. Check with your local chambers of commerce, check your aldermanic offices to see what type of grant opportunities are coming down. The city has been rolling out grants, so sometimes you will see those in the aldermanic office newsletters. Your chambers of commerce or neighborhood economic development organizations may be putting them out. Allies for Community Business has been a great resource for funneling grant opportunities, such as the Back to Business grant, which was available last year through the state. They were the facilitator of that grant. As an organization that is always trying to keep up with grants, it's very hard. It is very, very hard to keep track of all of the different opportunities that are coming down the pipeline, whether for nonprofit organizations, for small businesses, for artists. It's challenging. So make sure you stay in touch with your chambers of commerce, subscribe to their newsletters. That way you can stay on top of any announcements that come out about new grant opportunities. Another question in the chat: do you have to file a 1099 for your business if you did not profit from it? This is a question I would have a CPA or a bookkeeper ask. 1099s, my personal experience is being a contractor to a business. So I personally submitted invoices to my clients, and my clients paid my invoices, and at the end of each year, I would receive a 1099 from them showing how much I received for my services from this particular client. And then I use that to fill out my taxes for my previous year taxes. Go to a CPA, talk to a bookkeeper to help work through the issues with 1099s. I don't claim to be a legal expert or a tax expert on this issue, so talk to the folks who are and truly understand the ins and outs of working with 1099s. I can only speak from personal experience, but I also relied upon a CPA to help ensure that I was paying my taxes at the level that I should be paying as well. So reach out to a CPA. If you don't know a CPA, reach out to one of your chambers of commerce, one of the CBCs or an SBDC, and they can refer you to a reputable organization who specializes in small businesses and entrepreneurs and with 1099. I see some Q&As. So I'm going to switch on over to the question and answers. It says, do I need a license if I do not have a physical location? Well, that depends on what it is what you're doing, but the short answer is you most likely need a license to do any sort of business in the city. If you're working from home, you likely need a license depending on what it is that you do. Reach out. Let's have a consultation to talk about what it is your business is. And we could talk about the requirements for potential licenses. Is there help to cover fees? Is a question that has come up. I guess I don't want to assume, but my guess is that this is fees related to either licensing, etc. I'm not aware of grant opportunities of the sort that will help cover the costs of licensing fees at this point. This is one of those costs that you have to build into your budget and your financial planning. It's one of those necessary sunk costs, if you will, of doing business. You're not going to, you know that this is just a necessary part of business. It seems small, but in the grand scheme of things, it's essential. So I hope that answers your question. If not, please go ahead, drop a clarification in the chat or the Q&A, and I will get there. I think I answered the rest of the questions in the Q&A. So a new question has turned up in the Q&A. How can I find out about zoning? Great question. It is a very obscure topic most people don't know about, but it is essential to doing business here in the city because zoning regulates where business can be done to ensure safety. That is the origins of zoning, to prevent noxious uses from being directly in conflict with those residing nearby. That's a very, very abbreviated version of how zoning came to be. But you can find zoning on the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development website. So go to City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development, zoning, and you specifically want the zoning map. It's a little tricky to use. There are a lot of layers on it, and it's not entirely intuitive. But on the city's zoning map, you could plug in your address, or if you are looking to go into a location, the potential address of your location, type it in, and you can see what the zoning, the underlying zoning is for that. And here's where you need to reach out to us too. You're going to see a bunch of letters. You're going to see RM something. You're going to see C1-2, B something dash whatever. That is confusing. And unless like you do zoning, it's not going to be helpful to you. Reach out to us because each of those letters are a classification. And each classification dictates what types of uses are permitted within that zone. So depending on what your business is, you need to have a consultation with a CBC, with your local chambers of commerce, and sit down and kind of talk through what is it your proposed business is, what type of business license is it that you'd be going for, like your business type, and then checking that with the zoning to ensure that your business type is in line with what is permitted in the zoning. Now, this is not to say that you can't go somewhere where it's not permitted within the zoning, depending on what it is. certain types of businesses require what's called a special use permit, meaning that that particular zoning and that location is a bit more restrictive. And you would need to get aldermanic approval for a special use to go into that particular location. Come to us. If you forget who we are, reach out to your aldermanic offices. They will direct you to us who can help you work through the zoning. It is one of the most non-talked of, underrated topics that is so essential to you being able to run your business, in particular, called in particular to being able to run your business. Question, is that called a variance? Variances are typically used for development as opposed to the use, but it's somewhat similar, but it relates more to the physical structure as opposed to what's on the interior of the structure. I want to be mindful of time, and I'm not sure if we have any folks who have their hands raised. So BACP, I'll turn it over to you, and feel free to call on anyone who has their hand raised. I guess I don't see any hand raises.
I see some questions. Did you do the questions in the Q&A box?
I did what I could in the Q&A. I think some of them have been cross-posted into the chat. So I think I got them all, unless those that have put any Q&As in there feel like I didn't answer the question, or if I missed it, please speak up and let me know.
I don't see any hands raised either. Let me see. Wait. Going through the list. No hands are raised. Oh, wait, spoke too soon. Gina has a question. I'm going to allow her to talk. Go ahead, Gina, you need to unmute.
Okay, I put it in I put it in both places. How can we get a copy of the PowerPoint reference links and the page that was immediately following that?
The list of the Chicago business centers and the reference links. Yeah. The Chicago business centers, all the information is on BACP's website. So you don't need a copy of it. Just go to BACP Chicago business centers, and all of our contact information will be there for you, along with the links for Chicago Business Direct as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have time for questions, so feel free to raise your hand. And I would unmute you. Let's see. I'm going through the attendee list. Oh. Doesn't look like anyone has their hands raised.
Well, I thank you all for being here and asking some really great questions.
Oh wait, Sabrina raised her hand.
Great, Sabrina.
Hey, Sabrina, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, hi. I just have a question. Are any of these offices like open, like you can go actually in physically, or is it all online?
No, these are all physical offices. Although I don't want to speak too quickly about Austin. Austin might be under construction. I highly recommend just giving them a call. I can speak for us at Uptown United. We are a physical office located at 4619 North Broadway. And I know my colleagues at QCDC, along with Puerto Rican Cultural Center, River North, Greater Southwest, everybody else has a physical office. If you're located in the Austin area, just give them a call first, because I thought I had heard that there was construction going on.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have another hand raised. Go ahead, Samaya.
If you live in the south suburbs, does the requirements from the city of Chicago apply to those of us that live in other suburban areas outside of Chicago?
Well, are is your client based in, is your business are you going to be doing business in the city of Chicago? Because that might require some sort of license. If all of your business is going to be outside the city of Chicago, then I would recommend you talk to the local entity, the municipality for which you would be primarily housed out of and where you're going to be doing your business.
Okay, so I would speak with the municipality of like the mayor's office within my jurisdiction, correct? Or where
Yes,
I live.
I would double check with them, but it doesn't hurt to reach out to one of us as well. If you're going to have clients here in the city, it doesn't hurt to just double check to make sure that there isn't some wonky city requirement for you to have a business license. It just really depends on what it is that you're doing and who your audience and market area is.
You mentioned double tax. You mean we could be double taxed from the city and from the suburban municipality?
Oh no, not a double tax, just a
Oh,
license.
okay.
Just double check to make sure that there isn't something wonky in there that they, that I don't know about. I just recommend you speak with us and then speak to whichever municipality you're going to be based in.
Okay, I will contact you via email. Thank you.
Great. Yes, happy to help as best we can.
Sarah is here to help you with your questions. We still got a little time, so she's here waiting to help you. Nope, nothing. Well,
I think there's a couple questions in the chat about being able to view this at a later time. Just a reminder, BACP will post this presentation on their YouTube page. So BACP, if you just want to remind folks of your YouTube handle so that people can go back to it or drop it in the chat, that would be helpful.
I put it in the chat earlier. I can put it in the chat again. It's youtube.com/BACP. Chicago.
So thank you for doing that. I see a question just pop up in the chat. Do you need a business plan to apply for a license? No, you don't, but highly recommend that you flesh out what your plan is before pursuing down the path of a business license, before getting in too deep. But have a consultation with any of our organizations, reach out to SCORE, reach out to Women's Business Development Center. There are a whole host of free organizations out there or organizations that provide free one-on-one coaching to help you work through that process. But my understanding is no, it is not required, but it is always helpful to write everything out before you go through with trying to get a business license. That way, you know exactly which business license you should be applying for. So hopefully that answers your question. Another question. Do you need a business license to be an investor in real estate? Or is it required once you own a certain amount of properties? That's a great question. I don't have the specific answer as it relates to this particular question. As an investor in real estate, are you going to establish a business related to real estate investing? If so, that is likely a business license. If this is you personally doing investing in real estate under your own name, I would also suggest you talk to a CPA and or a small business attorney about any legal issues that may come up or legal protections that you should have as it relates to investing. So I don't have a definitive answer, but strongly suggest you talk to an attorney and or a CPA to ensure that you're protected as it relates to investing in real estate, because that can open up a whole host of other things. Question: there used to be attorney and accountant organizations that specialize in helping startup businesses with little to no cost. Do you know if any of these organizations are still around? One that I know of, I believe SCORE has assistance with attorneys and accountants resources available. I know Allies for Community Business has also started one-on-one coaching, and I believe they might have some of these areas of need available to you that are, I believe, for free or of little cost. So check out those organizations. We can also refer you to partners that we work with that specialize in small businesses. One that we continually refer folks to is G&G Law. They're a fantastic resource partner of ours that do free initial consultations and then go from there. Reach out to your local chambers of commerce, your Chicago business centers, for neighborhood folks who may be more up to speed on what's available. But those are the ones that I know of right now. Hopefully that is helpful. I am a book publisher. What license do I need? That's a great question. I don't know, because you are the first book publisher that I have been asked this question by. So why don't you reach out to us and we will get that figured out for you. That's a really great question. Well, I want to be mindful of people's time. I can hang on for another minute or so, but I think we're over. If you guys have any more questions, these have all been really great questions, and I hope you have found this presentation and the Q&A to be informative. Please go into BACP's website, reach out to any of us at the Chicago Business Center. My colleague Heather has dropped her information in the chat so that you can reach us, and she has the ability through Calendly to have consultations scheduled, but all of my colleagues throughout the city also have this some sort of similar ability as well. Please reach out to us. Please use us as a resource. Know that you're not alone. You are not starting from scratch. There are people who have gone through it. We are here to support you. There is no small question that we can't, or big question that we can't help you get an answer to. So please utilize us. And if you have any additional questions, just reach out.
Thank you, Sarah, for your presentation. Thank you to all our attendees for attending. To receive credit for today's webinar, please send an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. Again, that's bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about our upcoming webinars, please visit chicago.gov/business education. Again, that's chicago.gov/business education. Thank you. Thanks again, Sarah.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one and happy 4th of July.